We begin this hour on President Trump's birthday spectacular. Tonight, the White House will host a series of UFC fights on the South Lawn as part of the celebration of America's 250th anniversary. And yes, today just so happens to be Trump's 80th birthday. And all the hoopla and dollar signs surrounding the event are spurring controversy, with critics saying it reeks of corruption. As MS Now reports, Trump and some of his allies could personally benefit from the fight. Case in point, Trump purchased tens of thousands worth of stock in TKO Holding Group, UFC's parent company, weeks ahead of the fights. That's according to a May financial disclosure. However, the White House says Trump's investments are managed by a trust. The Trump Organization has also promoted a line of Freedom 250 themed silver and gold medallions priced from $250 to $12,000 tied to the event. And Trump's birthday bash is facing more than just criticism. Later today, the No Kings movement will hold a counter event to protest Trump's policies and what organizers call, quote, strongman politics. Joining us now, Senator Cory Booker of New Jersey, member of the Senate Judiciary and Senate Foreign Relations Committees. Senator Booker, thank you for coming to the weekend. Let's talk about this UFC fight. And I'm going to put up a Reuters Ipsos poll that asked some of the American people, is it appropriate for Trump to hold a UFC match at the White House? 46% said no. And yet the president is still doing this, seemingly doesn't care. Just your reaction to this event being held in the South Lawn of the White House and all the smell of corruption around it.
Yeah, this is one of the more staggeringly outrageous things that the president has done, as Americans are really struggling right now. We're seeing inflation rates going up. We're seeing the cost of gas and the cost of groceries, the healthcare costs skyrocketing because of the things that he's done. And what is he doing? Is he doing anything to address those issues? No. He's actually building ballrooms, building arches, and having a big, lavish party sponsored by corporations on the White House lawn. This should offend every single American and once and for all make it very clear Donald Trump does not care about you or your family.
Senator, your colleague, Senator John Cornyn, gave an interview with the New York Times this week where he made some predictions about the next few years and the, quote, misery that Donald Trump is going to face during his last 2 years as president. He gave voice in starkly candid terms to a growing sentiment among Senate Republicans that Mr. Trump was hurting his own party with self-serving decisions and his insistence on slavish loyalty, ultimately setting himself up for a midterm disaster that would pave the way for the most miserable 2 years of his life. We have discussed what some have called the YOLO caucus extensively on this show and been skeptical of it, quite frankly. I'm wondering if you can give us your definitive take on whether or not you feel like your Republican colleagues are going to step into their constitutionally given role as a proper branch of government.
Well, look, cynicism is not a muscle that I really have, but dear God.
Try.
I'm really happy that people are, these Republicans who have lost elections, lost primaries, or heading out of the Senate are finding their voice. Everything that is going on right now, the Republican Party in Congress has enabled. They didn't call out his reckless tariffs that are driving farmers out of business all over our country. They didn't call out his smashing and dashing simple lines of separations of powers. They didn't call out this reckless war that he started without constitutional approval. They have been silent and enabling him as he's put unqualified, unserious people in some of the most important positions, and as he has openly grifted off of their office. I've heard quiet conversations about how outraged or how upset they are about things, but they're not speaking up. When history looks back at this administration with its massive corruption, with its bankrupt ideas, with its utterly hurting its own people with higher prices and unbelievable tax cuts for the wealthiest while the rest of us suffer. What they're going to see is not just an out-of-control president, but they're going to see a party and Republicans in Congress that enabled him to do all of that.
We have a lot that we want to talk to you about, but I want to go back to sort of, I guess, the UFC fight, but zoom out a little bit. June is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. I think the UFC fight that we're going to see puts on the table the question about masculinity and the kinds of ways in which the administration, many people in this country, want to see violence from men. They want to see men as tough and hard and hitting each other. And I'm curious, as we're in the middle of Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, how you are putting those two things together in your head.
Well, look, people like Trump and Hegseth and the Vice President, J.D. Vance, put forward a sort of counterfeit masculinity, a fragility, in fact. That's not really true strength. And what I worry about right now is that men in general and men of color in particular are seeing a real mental health crisis. They're being told to be strong, and that often means the implicit message is to be silent, is to carry loads, even though you're hurting on the inside, to try to give this air of toughness that is actually wrong. Sometimes the three strongest words you can say as a man is, "I need help." And to understand that exhibiting that truth, that we all are vulnerable, we're all carrying difficult loads, that truth is something that will inspire other people. Because right now, there are too many guys out there that are suffering in silence, and we're seeing it in the data. Black male suicide rates are skyrocketing over the last 5 years. They're up about 25%. We see a real challenge with people who need mental health care, but they can't find it. Only about 1 out of every 3 black men that are looking for mental health care can actually find it. We need to start talking about this as a community and understand the second leading cause of death for young black men is suicide. And we as a community have to step up and do more by telling the truth to each other, by speaking up and by normalizing the reality is that no man is an island. We all are connected. We all need community. We all are loved, and we need to reach out for help when we need it.
Senator, thank you for providing your voice on this particular issue. I want you to put on your Senate Foreign Relations Committee hat and get your reaction to this headline out of Reuters on Trump saying a deal will be signed. Trump says deal to end war will be signed on Sunday. Iran questions timing. We will have to wait and see about the exact date of the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding, although it will not be tomorrow, state media quoted an Iranian official as saying. Do you know, is there going to be a signing? Do you even know what the terms of this, the real terms of this Memorandum of Understanding are?
Look, one of the great quotes from American history is a group called Public Enemy that said, "Don't believe the hype." This is a president that has, in many ways, really conducted the ultimate farce on the American people. This is not a deal to do anything but to undo some of the damage that he's done, which is the Strait of Hormuz was open before he started this ill-conceived war, and he's been struggling right now in a stalemate with a minor power. The greatest country in the world has been struggling just to get the Strait of Hormuz open. And we have been paying the price every single day. We've been paying the highest price. We've been paying the price here at home with rising prices. We've been paying the price with tens of billions of our taxpayer dollars. And what are we getting from this president's now most recent version of this farce is the Strait of Hormuz open when it was open before the war. Mm-hmm. We have paid the ultimate price with some of our soldiers dead, 14, hundreds injured that are going to come home with wounds and with challenges. This is an utter disaster. And this president, what he's advertising right now, is nothing more than getting something open that was open before. And what's the price that we're also going to be paying? We're going to be releasing billions of dollars to this enemy that now Iran is going to have billions of more dollars to rebuild their military and to fund their terrorist proxies. This is a disaster. This is a failed president, and this has been a failed war that he's declared.
Senator, there's a number of confirmations that are going to be coming your way and put a bunch of your colleagues on the spot in the coming weeks, including that of Todd Blanche, along with the newly appointed Jay Clayton as the head of the DNI instead of Bill Pulte. Will you be supporting Jay Clayton's nomination?
Again, I'm sorry to be just so blunt, but hell no. You got to be kidding me.
I asked because a bunch of your Democratic colleagues have said that they are going to support him.
Well, I'll give you a couple just real facts here. We know that in order to get these jobs, people have to pledge not a loyalty to the Constitution, not pledge to serve the American people and the rule of law. These are people who have shown over and over again that their loyalty is to Donald Trump. To Donald Trump, who's using the Justice Department to go after United States senators, to go after the head of the Fed, to persecute and prosecute people for Donald Trump's failed lies, like the big lie. Remember, he's going after Comey, and this is Blanche that has led that. These charges that are ridiculous, that every lawyer, every prosecutor in America knows are absolutely ridiculous. This is your taxpayer dollars. This is our precious law enforcement resources not being used to go after drug traffickers or sex abusers. They're being used to go after Donald Trump's fantasy agenda of persecuting people that have in any way criticized him or come after him for real crimes that he committed. This is an insult. Remember, Donald Trump's national security leaders from his first administration did something that has never before happened in American history. They came out and warned America, if you put this man back in the White House, he will be a national security threat and make our country vulnerable to attack. That's exactly what's happening right now. And we're seeing it by the unserious people that he's putting up for these jobs. And when it comes to national security, we have a bipartisan statute that says the person who's in that job shall have extensive national security experience. We're not seeing that in these last two nominees. We're seeing Trump loyalists, and it's dangerous to America.
Senator, so if there are Democrats that vote for Jay Clayton who doesn't have that experience, is that a mistake? Should they? Do you think? Are you telling them not to do that?
Well, look, I've been increasingly mad over these months and even years with my own party that we are not fighting in a way that meets this historic moment. And people have, you're a senator, you vote your conscience. I will respect my senators and don't always agree. But the larger picture right now is what's at stake. We know this is a Justice Department that's coming after African Americans' ability to have fair maps and the ability to vote. We know this is a Justice Department that is doing things that are rigging our system against Americans that are looking for justice. They've eviscerated the Civil Rights Division. They have gone after people for white racism, they're calling it. This is a dangerous day, and there are larger issues afoot that are undermining a fair democracy and the rule of law and the concept of justice. So I am sorry. We should not be supporting people who are being put up for positions in this Justice Department that are not serious and are, in fact, dangerous to the well-being, the public safety, and the ideals of this nation.
Senator Cory Booker, thank you so much for coming on this morning.